Senator Dianne Feinstein was on CNN and she was talking about national security and whether or not we're any safer today than we were 2 years ago. Here's what she had to say.
Genesis 8:20.
I think terror is up worldwide. The statistics indicate that. The fatalities are way up. There are new bombs, very big bombs, trucks being reinforced for those bombs. There are bombs that go through magnetometers. The bomb maker is still alive.
Oh my God.
There are more groups than ever, and there is huge malevolence out there.
Wow. Plus there's bombs.
Yeah.
Are there bombs out
Bombs,
there?
bombity bomb bombs.
never
Big
heard
bombs,
about
little
those
bombs, middle bombs.
If I had to guess, I think a focus group was run and people spiked when the word bomb was
Yeah.
used.
Yeah.
I would guess that was in the freezer
If
box.
ever there was an example of fear-mongering, that would be it. And she doesn't...
Well, in
I
a way
watched
it
the
is,
full-
but it was laughable, so it wasn't like it did, you know, I mean, it was
But it was
like
an attempt at
yeah,
fear-mongering.
right, it was an attempt,
It was an
exactly.
attempt.
And she's not specific about anything, right? She
No.
just says like, oh, there are bombs and then there are
Well, actually,
armored
she was
trucks.
specific. She said some of them are big.
Big.
Oh, big bomb, that's
Big
right.
bombs.
I forgot that
and
very
they can
important
go past
detail.
the magnet thing.
Yeah.
And there are trucks.
They
Right.
have big bombs now?
But what's incredible to me is now more than ever, we have our civil liberties being violated by the NSA indiscriminately collecting all this data on us and people abroad, right? And apparently that's not enough. We're still not safe.
No.
You know, more of our
No.
civil liberties are being destroyed,
Right.
yet we're not safer today than 2 years ago. We're less safe.
Yeah.
So why don't you reconsider your foreign policy strategy and your national security strategy?
What I think is ironic is that when Feinstein delivers that line, it's laughable. But for so many people living in like Pakistan, Yemen, parts of North Africa, like delivering the line, they've got bombs, they've got big bombs, they've got fucking drones with bombs. It's scary out here. It's getting more dangerous every year.
How come no one ever talks about drones, right? And how drones are actually making us less safe. So a recent example was written about in the LA Times, and there was a recent drone strike in Afghanistan on September 7th that killed 14 civilians, according to residents in this particular area. This was the Kunar province in Afghanistan, and the LA Times spoke to a number of people in this area that said that they lost family members, including an 18-month-old baby, as a result of this drone strike. And then the U.S. has come out and said, no, 11 people were killed, and they were mostly Taliban fighters. Now, one person who was interviewed said the following: there were pieces of my family all over the road. I picked up those pieces from the road and from the truck and wrapped them in a sheet to bury them. So the reason why I read this to you right now is because if you're going to have a discussion about how the United States is less safe today than it was 2 years ago, why don't you have a discussion about what we're doing abroad in places like Pakistan and Afghanistan, where there are literally drones flying around in the air and people don't know when they're going to be bombed? I mean, that's the definition of being less safe. Here in the United States, I mean, if you're going to say we're less safe, be specific about it. And as you guys saw from that video, Feinstein was not specific about it at all.
For some reason in the political discourse about national security, you are not allowed to talk about what we do internationally. Now, the drones are a good example of this in the modern era, but there's certainly earlier examples. I mean, when we were in the run-up to the war in Iraq, when we were responding to 9/11, we would talk about the arming of the Mujahideen and the way that had created a new threat. But you weren't supposed to talk about that as a liberal before Iraq. You're not supposed to talk about the drones now, and how if you were to try to design a program to poison a region and a people against you, I don't know that we could do a better job of it than with drones. It's not just the killing, but it's the completely dehumanization of killing. That we don't even send our pilots to kill them anymore.
Killing
we
is
just send
by nature
robots.
dehumanizing.
I understand that, but I'm saying we don't even
I
risk our
diverge
lives.
probably with all three of you on my opinion of the role of drones, and my biggest problem with Feinstein, as I said before, the power blew, is that there's no way to quantify this. So Dianne Feinstein going on television saying this foolishness about drones, they have bombs, big, mean, terrible bombs they're going to bomb. That doesn't do anything. She's not saying, here's what we need to do to be safer. She's not denouncing drones if she believes that drones ought to be denounced. So there's nothing productive going on there. And there's no way to say that we're safer or not safe. We were safe on September 11, 2001, and then we weren't later that morning. You know, I mean, that's the point. And so in terms of that, or so we believed anyway, in terms of that process, this conversation that they're having on what was it, Face the Nation, or whatever show it was on.
It was on CNN.
It was on CNN. Okay, so it doesn't matter what it was on. The conversation they were having is so unproductive because it gets us here talking about how silly the conversation is, but not about what defines safety.
I think that it's productive for a very specific group of people, and they are the type of people who profit off of us going to war or continuing war in places like Afghanistan.
Well, that's a great point, Anna, because it could be that Dianne Feinstein is talking about the people that make aeronautic supplies here in the in her state of California, and she's representing them on camera there, which she shouldn't be directly elected by the 17th Amendment anyway. But that's another conversation entirely. But I just think this whole idea of we're less safe, that's George W. Bush speak, because there's no way to quantify it.
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, unfortunately, we live in a country where nobody seems to get reelected by emphasizing the progress we've made, how safe we are. Like the president will try to do that when he's going for a second term, but lots of people get elected by scaring people into voting for them. And I think Dianne Feinstein, I don't know, is necessarily the best example of a person who's trying to drones are a good example to put us into a future conflict. There are certainly senators who do that. But for her, especially when we were in the run-up to the war in Iraq, the last year responding to 9/11, we would talk about the arming of the Mujahideen and the way that she just needs to generate enough fear to justify what the NSA has been doing and all that revelations before Iraq.
Yeah, that's been her goal as of late.
And how
can I say the most chilling thing about
this article in the LA Times, which humanized the people
I don't know that we could do a better job of it than with drones.
Unmanned drones.
It's not just the killing, but it's the completely dehumanization of
somehow, even though
that we don't even send our pilots to kill them anymore.
Killing is by nature dehumanizing. I diverge probably with all three of you on
when they talk about it.
The role of drones.
It was hard for me to read the story, and this I think is
my
the
biggest
most
problem with Feinstein, as I said before, the power
over their heads all day,
is that there's no way to quantify.
I just want to read this one little sentence. It says, the governor's account suggests that if some of the truck's occupants, so they blew up a truck with people in it, were indeed armed insurgents, the drone may have tracked them and targeted the pickup, and because the Reaper drones often trail insurgents for hours, even days, before an attack is ordered. Holy shit!
So imagine living in that type of environment where you know that there are drones following your every move, and oftentimes the person who controls that drone or launches, that bomb gets the information wrong. They have incorrect intelligence in that case. So people feel as though the United States is terrorizing them, and that's what causes the hostility toward the United States. That's the kind of decision that our politicians make that makes the United States less safe, which is why I bring up this drone story in response to what Feinstein said.
And I'm going to take one point opposite that.
Before you do, let me read a few quotes. So one person says, do the American people want to spend their money this way on drones that kill our women and children? Another person says, the Americans say they are here to protect us. No, they're here to kill us and terrorize our women and children. So if you have civilians with that kind of mentality, isn't that going to cause hostility toward the United States? Isn't that going to fuel the fire?
So as you point out, it clearly will. Like I imagine you're looking at 1-2 generations of people raised to hate the United States. But they always seem, in those quotes, way more rational and understanding than we would be in that situation.
Definitely.
Yes.
If China dropped a single bomb in the United States, that's all we would talk about for a year. Right. If I don't know, Iran or something was able to get a single drone to fly over New York City, whether or not it dropped a bomb, we would freak out and probably invade multiple countries. But they're willing to say, just dial back the freaking drones. They're way more understanding than we would be. But I do want to make one correction, because I think that I was trying to put myself in the perspective of the people in these communities that are terrorized. I don't fundamentally think that drones should not be used. I think that the way they're being used is poisoning people, again, against that particular type of technology. But I think that we need to get used to it, because not just drones are going to become more common, but eventually our combat aircraft. They're not going to have humans in them in 50 years. We're already making moves to change that out. So I think we have to get used to the fact that unmanned vehicles are the future.
When we talk about drones in Afghanistan, they send out 300 to 500 drone missions a day in Afghanistan. So it's like their whole country is just surrounded by these drones. So I guess the theory that the United States government is practicing is just, how many more of these radical terrorist Muslims do we have to blow up before they leave us alone? That's really the theory here. Why don't we get the hell out of
Until
Afghanistan?
we just start delivering Amazon packages to them, and then everything.
It would be much. I think it would be much. Somebody made the suggestion that why don't we just take $1 billion instead of spending $2 billion a week fighting a pretend war in Afghanistan? Why don't we just take a plane and throw $2 billion out every week onto the people? I bet it would help fix the problem a lot faster.
I just think that it's not fair and right for us to represent that this hatred of America began the day the first drone flew
No,
over.
no, and no one's saying that.
I know you're not. I
Yeah.
just wanted to clarify. There's a
Okay.
history to it that isn't. We're not creating a hate out of nothing in so many of these places, and it's a little bit in part of why we're there. Even though I don't think we ought to be there, and never thought we should have been there, but it is certainly what informed our being there. So.